My name is David Pryor. I've been in the finance industry for nearly 25 years now. Priority Funding started in 1997, and we predominantly do business finance, so equipment leasing, unsecured loans, any type of finance for businesses, and that could also entail doing mortgages for them if they're requiring that as well. We do have the capacity to do consumer mortgages as well, but it's not a main part of our business. Definitely. So it's very much a niche market, the commercial real estate market in mortgages, but we do have the capacity to do that with our network of funders.
Priority Funding.
Certainly. So Wendy and I, we recently got engaged, and the company I was working for, the marketing company I was working for, had gone in a different direction. So I decided to go and work for my best friend who was a finance broker. And the area that I worked specifically in was working with accountants and dentists and doctors, specifically working in the business finance field. So that's how I dipped my toe into the market, and I found that I really enjoyed financing those particular types of businesses and working through what needs a business has and helping those businesses actually meet those needs. Not just the finance, but helping to generate revenue through equipment or save money through consolidation, all those sorts of niche needs a business has. So my best friend then went to work for a finance company, and I followed him over to that role. And through growth in the business, I was able to move back to Queensland to become a business development manager looking after finance brokers in Queensland. Through changes in the business, I was able to then to go and move to another finance brokerage business and help establish his equipment finance area in a specific niche. I found that I was working really well in that particular area and decided to actually move into my own business. And that started in 1997, so we've been operating as Priority Funding Corporation since 1997, 22 years.
Wow.
I love helping businesses. My previous life was actually as a school teacher. So being able to have empathy with people, being able to listen to people, and then seeing the needs of whether it's a student or a business and knowing how to meet those needs. Now, I use the analogy because when you're in a classroom, you have children all learning the same topic, but there'll be many different ways of learning. So communicating something in different ways to meet different people's needs. So the same is with a business. So you might have a business who wants to buy equipment, but why are they buying that equipment? Is that to actually help generate them business? Is that to save them money? What niche needs does that business have that I need to be able to explore to help them the best? It's not just being able to provide money to somebody. It's being able to listen and provide a solution to somebody that best meets their needs today and in the future.
I like it.
I'd loosely call that your small to medium business. So that would be anything from blue collar industries through to major corporations, through to major businesses. See, every business can use finance for the benefit of their business if they're clever. Knowing what their specific needs are, whether it be a new PC so that they can actually keep up with their business, whether it's a new machine that helps them cut their costs enormously, whether it's a car for somebody that helps them to save money because their old car is getting expensive to run. And if I get them a new car, which then allows them to do longer distances or allows them to be a better presentation when they go and see their clients. All these sorts of things are niche needs for individual businesses. So to say what's my typical client is almost how long's a piece of string. Because I have funded that sole trader, I've funded that fish and chip shop, I've funded government departments, schools. it all comes down to people understanding what their needs are, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they get sold a piece of product, equipment, or whatever it may be from a supplier, and you sit down with them and say, what's the best way of financing this to help you today and in the future? So sometimes a client comes to me and say, I want to do this equipment on this type of finance. And then you sit down with them and say, okay, so what are your overall needs? What's your strategy? And we might actually throw ideas up for the client that says, oh, okay, that's a good idea. Why not combine this with that? This is sometimes where you might do the mortgage because it might be cheaper. It might be better to do it that way. This might be where we use an unsecured loan to consolidate other debts. This might be where the client had ideas of actually financing 3 or 4 pieces of equipment, but they were looking at doing it over 3 or 4 months. So they would do 3 or 4 different small price deals, all at a higher rate. If you combine them all together, you get a lower rate across the board, which means ultimately they're saving their money. Solutions and then finding what works. Most people are open to hearing ideas and throwing around. I like to use that term. I throw around ideas. 6 of the 10 might be garbage, but 4 of them might be those little nuggets that help that client. So especially younger people who are more risk takers, they will reach too far too soon. The older we get, the more conservative we tend to be. But when you look at a proposal, you look at an opportunity for somebody, this is where the listening is the most important thing. Okay, what are your goals? What contingencies do you have? I recently had a client who their credit file was clean. It was so that they were credit worthy, but they were stepping out too fast, too soon. So they would have had the capacity to borrow, let's say, $70,000. Over 5 years, that's a fairly significant weekly and monthly commitment. And they told me what their projected income was, and they told me what they were earning now and the little bit of stress they'd had in building their business up until now. So the first suggestion I made was to wait 3 more months because they'd given me some guidelines on what income was coming in over the next 3 to 4 months. That created the platform for them to be able to have a little bit less stress in their life. Now, this was a young man who had a wife and kids. So that stress can, if you're not careful, be moved onto your family. Less time with them. You arc up at your family when you don't realize you're doing it sometimes. So a suggestion to leave it for 3 months to create the extra revenue. And then we looked at actually a cheaper piece of equipment. Now, the client went ahead with that option. In the next 12 to 18 months, once that equipment is generating the extra revenue he needs, we can then potentially upgrade him into the goal that he had set himself for, but there's much less stress in his life. And if things don't go as well for whatever reason, then he can still service his debt now without worrying about this $70,000 debt, which you don't sleep with sometimes. Now, I did 2 things there for my business. Quite strangely, both of them can be perceived as negative, but long term they're very positive. Number 1, I didn't get the income for 3 months because I told him to wait. Number 2, I halved the size of the deal, so my income was halved. But number 3, for my business, I've actually got this client for 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 years because he knew that I had his best intentions at heart. My business is not for me to make a lot of money. Everyone wants to make money, but my business is to help businesses. Because if I help businesses, then I can sleep at night. My family is happy because I'm happy. And those businesses will come back to me. They will come back because I've done the right thing.